Good afternoon, everyone. Evening. Sorry. Welcome back to Real Red Store, the authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. And this is your transfer show with only a couple of days left of the transfer window. Things are definitely starting to heat up with Manchester United. We're going to talk about the bid for Cucurella. We're going to talk about Raphael Varane being out for 6 weeks. The other left-back options like Tagliafico and Spinazzola, who's coming to the frame now. Is Harry Maguire staying at Manchester United? It certainly seems like that now. Kind of ties in with the Varane thing. And then a big outlet reporting about McTominay to Bayern Munich, 35 to 40 million pounds or euros, not entirely sure. So, yeah, loads of stuff going on. I've got Sam alongside me, as always. How we doing, Sam? We good?
Stressful day, but United just seem to want to, when you have a stressful day, they want to make it more stressful, don't they, by doing the stuff they're doing and injuries and what have you. So yeah, it never stops, does it?
Yeah, obviously we're on Tuesday now. The transfer window shuts on Thursday, so between now and then it's going to be pretty hectic, I imagine, with deals collapsing, deals happening, other people, random people leaving and random people coming in. So obviously the first point where we're going to start is with the Cucurella deal, and it's Cucurella imminent as it seems. A lot of both sides of the parties are positive. I'll just read out what David Ornstein tweeted. He said, Man United has submitted a proposal to sign Marc Cucurella from Chelsea. Chelsea responded, talks ongoing, offer is initial loan, plus clubs discussing various parameters around that. United like the 25-year-old for Ten Hag's system, top candidate as things stand. And then Fabrizio Romano came out after it saying, Manchester United opening bid sent to Chelsea for Marc Cucurella after talks revealed 2 days ago. Understand the loan fee is offered in excess of £2 million. Chelsea want more. Talks ongoing to make it happen. Cucurella is open to join United since Saturday. And apparently the loan fee that's being negotiated is £7 million. That's what Chelsea want. We've offered 2. So we'll probably end up meeting in the middle. I have no idea what we're going to end up paying, but it's interesting. There are other left backs that I want to talk about as well, but we'll just start out with Cucurella, Sam. Is he the best option on that list?
Of the list that's been presented in terms of, I know Spinazzola has just been added to it, who I quite like. I like Spinazzola quite a lot. But from Reguilon, Rico Henry, Cucurella and Alonso, I'd say Rico Henry and Cucurella would be the two. I'd be like, okay, they're the two options I'd go with. Rico Henry's a little bit inexperienced with Brentford, but he's done decently well. Cucurella had a fantastic season at Brighton, which I was very impressed with. That's why Chelsea bought him, but then had a pretty terrible season with Chelsea, but then the whole team was terrible, so can you sort of read much into that? I don't know. I like the idea of Spinazzola. He's a very, very good player. Impressed me at the Euros and when he's playing in internationals and stuff like that. But again, it's a question of an Italian player coming to the Premier League. Doesn't always work, does it? It's not always a great fit, so it could be a risk there. Whereas Cucurella's Prem proven, he's done it. You know what you sort of get into it, and just absolute no to Alonso. Don't want him anywhere near the club.
To get a bit of perspective on this, I'm sure if you ask a Brighton fan how good is Cucurella, what can he do, what kind of system would he fit, I'm sure they would all be like, fantastic player of the year. Pep Guardiola wanted him. He's highly rated. I think they bought him for Getafe Brighton for 12 million, and then obviously sold him to Chelsea for 60 million. But then you ask people at Chelsea, fans at Chelsea, and everything I've seen online saying his pants, he's shit, he's had an awful, he can't defend, he can't attack now, which is one of the things that he was kind of emphasised for, if you will. So I don't know what to go off. I don't know if he can recapture that form at Brighton or not.
Who at Chelsea, though, had a good season last season?
Well, that's the
thing,
isn't it? Now, yeah, you look at Enzo and Sterling now, the way they're playing, and a few others you like. It was obviously a product of the environment, and that was going to be my question. Would you be confident in him recapturing that form at Brighton, or do you think it's a risk in that sense?
Every transfer we do at this point is going to be a risk, because if you've done your scouting properly and you've weighed out your targets and you've gone in early and got them, you've had time in pre-season to assess and see what's happening, then you can be pretty sort of risk-free and risk-adverse. Whereas when you're scrambling around the last 3 days of the window due to injuries and due to other sort of stuff, then it's always going to be a risk. Because these sure things are not going to be available, are they? You're not going to get a Cancelo, you're not going to get people like that because they're just not in United's price range or United's bracket or for whatever reason. So you have to sort of take risks at this point. And Cucurella is a risk, but he has shown good form. So it sort of weighs out a bit. Whereas Rico Henry, you sort of bidding on potential there, aren't you? He's shown something, but it's pure potential at this point. And then the other two are just they haven't shown me anything where I'd be like, yeah, get them in. And then it's a risk for Spinazzola as well, like I said with the Italian thing. So everything's a risk at this point. Like nothing's a sure thing. So you just got to you've got to take the risk and then hope it works out and hope that Luke Shaw and Terrell and Lassie are not out for as long as is being reported. Hopefully they come back a bit quicker, so you only have to rely on the person for a short amount of time.
I think the kind of reoccurring theme at the minute in it is like players where clubs don't want anymore. So we was talking about Højbjerg last night, and he was a player Tottenham don't want anymore, like don't fit in the Postecoglou system. Cucurella, obviously Poch doesn't want him, otherwise he won't be letting him go out on loan. So it is very risky to say, come here, see if you can do a job. At the same time, it's interesting to see what would happen with Malacia. And obviously Shaw when he gets back in November, because if you're going to get him on loan, I imagine it's obviously going to be like a year loan, right? Like a 1 year loan. Yeah. So when they come back, what are you going to do then? What's going to happen with Malacia? Because he's not going to get any game time, is he?
No, that's the issue. I think it is going to be a loan. Like I don't see us buying Cucurella.
No, we won't buy him.
I think that'd just be stupid. But Cucurella can play a couple of positions. Like he is quite versatile, as is Luke Shaw. And if Varane's out, he's been out now. He's been like we'll get onto that later. But he has had a history of injuries, so you could then come into playing where Luke Shaw has to cover centre back, and then you've only got Malacia as your left back, so you would need a bit of cover there. So then maybe he sticks out. So there's circumstances where he could stick around, but I think loan is the correct option. After a year, if he's playing really, really well and you think he can fit in the team, you buy him. If not, you've had him for a year and he can sort of move on with the blessing and do whatever, or Chelsea can sell him to somebody else. So
yeah. I want to discuss other potential left backs, but before I do that, make sure you keep getting your comments in the chat and leave a like on the video for us. And yeah, let's dive into some comments, Sam, if there are.
Brian Casey in the chat. Shout out to Brian Casey. Evening, lads.
Yes,
I'm a little bit torn with this, to be honest. Obviously, I'm happy with getting someone in to replace long-term injuries, but not Chelsea and Spurs rejects. Just have to look at them as temporary deals. 1 season deals that help us out over the next few months. Give us a bit of depth for the rest of the season until we get our proper targets next summer. Hopefully, we have when we have new owners. That's the thing I hate about United. It's like, oh, it's another stopgap. Oh, just till next summer. Oh, just till next summer. Just till next summer. And it just fucking continues on, doesn't it? Like, we never get the targets we want. It's always chasing, and it's just...
It's hard because it's unfortunate. It's unlucky the fact that both of our senior left backs have got injured, so they have to go in and get someone. You can't plan for injuries, isn't it? That's the thing. Like, if two of your players go out, what else are you supposed to do? But it's just the options that are there. Not a lot of them aren't promising. I'd probably say about 90% of them aren't promising. It
annoys me that we're not giving Alvaro a chance, because clearly either Ten Hag doesn't rate him at all, or he doesn't think he's ready for this opportunity. But if a young guy is going to get an opportunity, this is when you give them opportunities. Like Marcus Rashford got his opportunity against Midtjylland because Anthony Martial went down like 30 minutes before the game, didn't he? So he had no choice, and then he's broken onto the scene. Alejandro Garnacho, he's established his footing in the team. He's taking chances and stuff. So I think this is Kobe Mainoo, another one. So I think this is where young players establish things. But if Ten Hag's not fancying him, which upsets me a little bit, because from what I've seen, I rate the guy very highly. I think he's fantastic. But Ten Hag don't fancy him, so that's why we're in the market. Couple more comments. Injuries are killing us last season, catching up with us from Shireyas. Absolutely, mate. Gray Sheridan, afternoon, gents. I'm going to be honest, I hate this club right now. So, yeah. Chivy, Shaw probably plays more centre-back when he gets back. Difficult to stay positive. Yeah, I agree, Chivy. Your place in the Cosmos. Prestigious day in Manchester United gets dragged further into the mud with every season that passes. I'm disgusted. Not much to say more on my feelings on the club. People are very unhappy in the chat. Very unhappy.
Yeah, I understand it. Because this happens every single summer, doesn't it? And a load of names. I jokingly put a tweet out yesterday on the page saying like the names that we've been linked with already this week. There was like 10 to 15 names, and that's just in typical United fashion. Yeah. Two of the names that were on that list What you've already spoken about Spinazzola, so I don't want to touch on him, but the other one is Tagliafico, who's currently at Lyon. Obviously Ten Hag, excuse me, coached him at Ajax. He moved to Lyon last year for like 3 million, and has started I think he started 34 games for him, played 34, started 34. So he seems like he's a pretty important player for him. At this point, if the Cucurella thing didn't go through, is Tagliafico? I don't know if you've watched much of him. Would it bother you if you went to him? Like, any thoughts on Tagliafico at all?
It's quite worrying that our entire scouting system is our manager at this point. That is just his phone book. It's his phone book, isn't it? And that's quite worrying for a club of our size, that we don't have an extensive scouting system where things like this happen and we haven't got a list of like players in every position where we're like, right, if an injury happens or we need to go get someone, we can pivot and go get this guy because we've scouted him extensively. We've got files on him. We've got stats. We spoke to his agent, all this sort of stuff. Because that's what every other club does. It's what City do. It's what Liverpool do. It's what Brighton do. Every other club does it except us. So it just worries me that every single player we get linked with, either Ten Hag's worked with, or he's played against, or he's trained by me. Like, there's all these links. And it just seems to be really worrying that we're relying on our manager alone for scouting and getting players in. That's quite worrying. Tagliafico under Ajax was decent, I thought. I thought he had a good run with Ten Hag when he had that famous run. I've not watched him at Lyon. I've got to be honest. I'm sure Aaron has. Aaron's probably a good guy to ask because he's probably seen him. Sure. But I haven't seen him in Liga, unfortunately. But yeah, it's really worrying that we're run this way. We're relying on a manager's little black book to get players in when we should have an extensive scouting network to solve these issues. But that's where we're at.
Well, obviously the whole back line at the minute is kind of being doctored because you've got Luke Shaw out, Molasses out, and then more recently you've had Raphael Varane. Well, it's been announced that Raphael Varane could be out for up to 6 weeks.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, for United, due to suffering an injury against Nottingham Forest. Does this worry you at all? I mean, Lindelof did a pretty good job last time he came in last season. I thought he was really underrated. But the issue is the three players who we've spoken about at the start of the season who have been good are Onana, Wan-Bissaka, and Varane. Literally been our best player. Varane's scored the first goal in Wolves. So does that worry you, Lindelof coming in to that kind of back line?
I'm confident in Lindelof. I think Lindelof's a capable deputy. When he's not playing next to Maguire, he actually looks pretty decent. When he's played next to Alessandro before, he's looked great. So I'm all right with that. Like, that's not that worrying. It's the problem if you want to substitute or you need to change things up in that centre-back line, your options are Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. That's your options. That's worrying. So if we lose Lissandro or Lindelof, that's your centre-backs thing. And that's, that's worrying for me because we're already lost to like some major players in terms of like Luke Shaw, now Varane, Mason Mount is out, Højlund's still not made his debut, so we've already got worrying injuries as it is, and then if you sort of lose Lissandro or Lindelof, it's like the team looks like
3 games into the season as well, by the way. Like, we're not even... Well, imagine when we get to December time, when it's like, it starts to look like Ollie's team. Do you remember that team he put out where it's like Maguire, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, and then it was like, who was it? McTominay. It was just terrible, and it's going back to that just because, again, our club has not been backed by the manager's not been backed by the owners to get in quality depth. Because at this point, that Amrabat deal is a layup, in it. Like, it's just waiting there to be done. We're not doing it. Yeah. If we don't do that, man, I swear I'm going to be absolutely fuming.
Gravenbach can be done quite easily. Like, they're willing to let him go. He wants to come. That's a deal that could be done. There's 2 midfield depth options right there. Centre-back options, Kim Min-jae was on a layup. Could have done that. Didn't happen. It was cheap. It was a decent deal too. Didn't do it. Todibo deal's right there to be done. We're not doing it. Like, it's just fucking... Just the state of the club, the way we're running, the way we do things is just so annoying. And I'm frustrated because that we're scrambling around in the last days of window again. Some of them through injuries, which I get, you can't help, but we should be more prepared than this. We should have systems in place to deal with this sort of thing, and we don't.
And it's one theory from a lot of fans is, and this has been proven by a lot of clubs, is they purposely wait until the last couple of days of the window to get a deal, basically to drive the price down of certain players. So obviously we know we're working with a specific budget, whether United are doing that or not, to maybe the last day or Wednesday to try Nick Amrabat for a certain fee. But then Fiorentina have got to replace him. The guy's isolated. He's not training with the team. He's waiting for this move. He's on the sideline waiting now. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. We're not going to speak about as much about Amrabat today, but we're going to touch on Maguire and McTominay shortly. But just sticking with Varane for just a couple of minutes. Does this not show even more why every time we've spoken about his injury record and we need that replacement, it's getting more and more often now, isn't it? Even though he's like retired from international football, he seems to be picking up these niggly little injuries. Even since he came through the door, I don't think he's ever had a consistent long-term run of games at the club. So does this not mean we need to push that priority with a centre-back, whether that's a Tadibo or whoever that may be?
Sorry, put myself on mute. Yeah, it's again, it's worrying because we knew Varane had these issues. Like, you know he's injury prone. You know we can't play 2 games a week. And when we got into the Champions League, that's what we're going to do. We're going to play on Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. And then you chuck in the FA Cup games and the Carabao Cup and all that sort of stuff. So you're going to have an intensive schedule. And the UEFA seemingly want to add more games to it, and World Cup every 2 years and all this sort of bullshit. So games are going to get more and more and more, which is worrying, which is more injuries on players. So it's even more important to have a squad depth where you can deal with these sort of things, because they're not going to change it, because it's all about money in it. So they're not going to change it.
Yeah.
So again, it comes down to ownership, and it comes down to the way the club's run, that we're not prepared for this, and the fact that Ten Hag has been left with the bare bones of a squad trying to get through the season. And like you said, we're 3 games into the season and we're already down major players. Like, imagine if we lose like an Onana or like a Bruno or someone like that.
Yeah,
the fuck do we do?
Or Rashford.
Yeah,
we'll say that Rashford's not the best of starts, but yeah, he's.
What do we do? Like, literally, what do we do? Because they are like major players, and we have no replacement for him. Onana's replacement is a guy who's got a bad back, who's not even signed yet, or it's Tom Heaton, he's fine, I guess. Like, he's all right, but he's not amazing. And then Bruno's replacement is who? Donny van de Beek. Do you know what I mean? Like,
what's going to happen with him as well? Like, he's still not gone yet.
Yeah,
so that's what I mean. There's about 4, 5, 6 deals potentially to happen in the next 2 days.
Like, if Rashford goes out, Højlund, his like replacement is not fit still.
Yeah.
So it's just like, again, bad planning from the club, poor structure, and it comes down to the ownership. It comes down to the Glazers hiring people like John Murtaugh, hiring people like Richard Arnold, and they're just not prepared. And they were all willing to give him a clean slate, and they were all saying, "Oh yeah, no, Murtaugh madness. Look at this," but it's the same bullshit every summer. Same thing. That we don't learn our lessons. Everybody gets hyped up and excited, but never happens.
Brian Casey saying every other club is run like a football club. United being run like a business. That's the difference. Glazers out. Absolutely. Second that. Shreya saying my head hurts from this. So frustrating. Missing out on Kim and Jay hurts even more now. Sabitzer says we just want the club. Should be sold. The Glazers are letting the club down. Absolutely. Bruno's replacement is Mount, in my opinion.
Yeah, but he's injured. He's fucking injured.
Yeah, he's injured. Maybe that will be the case. Maybe, if we bring Avon back, I was going to say that's a mixture of Amrabat and Gravenberch. If we do bring Amrabat in, maybe that will be the case where, Bruno moves out to the wing, or I don't know what he's going to do with that. Time will tell with that one. Just focusing on Harry Maguire, Sam, United have told Maguire he will not be leaving the club now during the transfer window, barring a late change of mind from the United hierarchy. We know West Ham went back in. I'm not sure about the specifics of that deal, but we've spoken about it last night, that it potentially could have been a loan deal. But United are standing firm on this now, saying basically staying. This is probably because of the Varane situation, I imagine. But do you think with him still being at the club now, this is going to be an ongoing circus for the rest of the season?
Absolutely. Because I think he changed it. I can't remember who said it. He changed his mind for unknown reasons. People were just speculating, saying, "Oh, it's possibly because of the England thing." That he realised he's not actually going to play because it's been 3 games in the season and he's not had a single minute. and maybe in his head he thought he would get in at some point, and he hasn't. So maybe it's set in, and he was like, okay, I need to leave. But like, yeah, we can't afford to be sending out Maguire on loan when he's one of the only assets that we can actually be worth selling. Like, he's a sellable asset. Dean Henderson's a sellable asset. We saw that. Like, people tried to loan him, and we were like, no, it's a permanent deal. Needs to go. Same with Scott McTominay. Like, we can't be loaning him out because he's a sellable asset. So we need to sell these players. And if people don't want to pay for him, then as far as I'm concerned, Maguire can sit on the bench and wait his time out, because he had the opportunity to go. He didn't want to take the pay cut. So he stays, and that's on him. And if he has to deal with the consequences of that, I don't think people should boo him or abuse him or anything like that, because that's not right. But he has to deal with the consequences now that he's chosen to stay. He tried to have a last minute reprieve, but money wise, it's not going to happen. So United have stood firm, and you've got to applaud him on that. I know everyone's going to think, oh, we need to get rid of him. We need to get rid of him, but it's not that simple. Yeah. If we get rid of him, that leaves us short of another centre back, and the only other centre back we've got is Johnny Evans, because the other cover we had is Luke Shaw, and he's out injured. And unless we sell Maguire, we can't get a replacement in. I know that people don't think, oh yeah, we could just go buy someone. According to financial fair play or whatever it is, we can't, or Glazer restriction, whatever the reason, we can't just go out and buy a replacement until we sell. So we have to take a hard line with it and be like, you either buy him or he stays. And that's where we find ourselves.
Is there any possibility at all he works his way back into the team with Varane out? And how do you think fans will react to that if he plays more games than he did last season? Because it seems like he's gone to. Varane's out now. It only takes another injury before he actually becomes a starter in most games, and that happened last season with Varane and Lisandro out basically. So do you see him playing more game time this year if he does stay?
I think if we're forced into a point, I know we've signed Johnny Evans on a 1-year deal, so I think that's probably the option that Ten Hag is going to go with. Like, if we are short of centre back, Johnny Evans is probably going to play. But yeah, that could mean Maguire sees more minutes. And I think if he came back in and he played well, I don't think anybody could have an issue with it, could they?
But why bring Johnny Evans in on a 1-year deal then? If you're not, like, that doesn't make sense to me. Why bring him in if you've already got 4 centre backs? And Luke Shaw, who could play there as well. What's the point in signing Johnny Evans on a 1-year deal? I don't understand it.
I think they just literally just wanted to send a message to Maguire. Like, you ain't going to play.
Not received.
Yeah, you ain't going to play. Maybe that's what they did. But I think if he came back in and he did play, like, I think he would get praised if he played well, wouldn't he? Like, we can't.
The issue is, I just think he'd get booed before he even kicked a ball.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? Like, that's the issue. Fans are going to turn on him because of what's happened, which is unfortunate, because I don't agree with it, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. But if he plays well, then I don't see what the argument would be. Obviously, if he plays poorly, then you can criticise his performance, and so you should. But if he plays well, then I don't see what the issue is. But it's just a mess, isn't it? Like, he should have gone. He should have been sold, and we could have just moved on, and we could have had Tadibo in or whoever and got it in, and we could have moved on. At least that'd be one less headache. So if Varane is out injured, it's like, oh well, we've just signed a new centre back, Tadibo, he can play.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's less of a mess. But because it's United, it's more bullshit, it's more mess, and it's just that's the way it is.
The targets we've missed as well, Shreyas just mentioned Pavard, Tadibo, Kim Min-jae, Timber. Like, it's crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
Worrying. Very worrying.
Yeah, very, very, very worrying. Just the last news story, just a quick show today, because I'm conscious it is transfer window, so anything can kind of break at any time. So it's going to be a quick one today. But McTominay, Bayern Munich are very interested in Scott McTominay. We've spoken about this before. We've been back and forth on it. Yeah. We appreciate this. This is coming out from a huge media outlet in Germany, though. Bild, or I think it's Bild.
Yeah.
Pronounced. 1.9 million followers on Twitter. So there's some credit to it, I imagine. But yeah, Bayern Munich are very interested in Scott McTominay. United would be willing to negotiate the 35 to 40 million pound asking price. There is an exciting indication that it will happen. That's coming out from Bild, right? There seems to be something in this, doesn't there, Sam? Again, I know it's conflicting reports, but when you see something like that, does that feed you with any slight positivity at all?
I mean, if we can get some money for him, then excellent. I know there's been reports of saying we're only letting him go for, what is it, 35, 40 million? I think that's the price tag we've signed him. If they're willing to pay it and they want and he wants to go, then it's great for all parties.
Well,
why not? Like, roid him up, give him whatever they give everybody else when they go there, because everybody who seems to go to Bayern Munich then seems to end up absolutely jacked out of their minds. So he's already a big lad, isn't he? He's like, what, 6'2"? He's a big lad, so...
What does everybody else think in the chat? Let me know. Scott McTominay at Bayern Munich, would he do a job there? Would he be a good player for him?
And if we, like Brian Casey said, if we could do a swap deal for the Gravenbach thing, if that we can work that into it, or if we get like straight money, if we could go get Amrabat, and we could do a loan deal for Gravenbach, then I think that's good. I think it opens up a couple of possibilities, like transfer-wise, if we can get it done in time. But it just depends. It only seems to be Build, doesn't it, that's reporting it, as far as I can see.
Yeah, conflicting reports. Yesterday, was it someone from the Telegraph, from the British press?
Yeah.
From that kind of side, saying that it's unlikely, but then they've said that about Amrabat, and Italian press are then saying that it's basically just needs a bid now and it's done. So I don't know who to fucking believe at this point. It's a bit of a strange one.
Shall I read out some comments?
Yeah.
Maguire should never play for us again. He's a risk whenever he's on the pitch. That's from Gray. Brian Casey, Maguire played well in the away games against top 16s when we're most likely to sitting back. I don't think Ten Hag is going to play this sitting back anymore. I think he's insistent on this style where we're going to be highlighting.
Yeah, sorry, just a point on that. Imagine the way we played for the first 3 games. Imagine if Maguire was in that team.
Disastrous.
Like, you're talking a lot more goals conceded, aren't you?
But and then a swap deal with Gravenbach should be perfect business, which means we won't get it done. Exactly, Brian. Great. Maguire has been reckless in his own box. Remember the kick to Pogba's head, lots of own goals, tackling, showing all in his own box. I think a lot of slander gets put on Maguire, which for the mistakes he makes and the stuff he does is fair enough. But I think in the right system, he would be a good player. I just think in our system, he's going to get continuously exposed for his flaws, and then he's going to get more abuse, which abuse he doesn't deserve, criticism he does deserve, but he's going to get more abuse, and it's just the situation is going to get toxic and toxic and toxic and toxic. And it's not what we need right now, is it? It's just not what we need.
Yeah, I think his confidence as well, especially now, will be at an all-time low. Like, he will just be so down with confidence. If he's stepping onto the pitch and the United fans are booing him, he doesn't want to be there. He knows he had the opportunity to move, but now he can't. I think that's just a recipe for disaster, to be honest with you. But just the last thing on McTominay before we read out a couple more comments. It's pure profit, which a lot of people seem to forget. Like, 35 to 40 million pound is pure profit. If you can go spend 20 million on Amrabat, God knows what you can do with the other 20, plus obviously wages off the bill, etc. So, and that is one move that if that did happen, I'd be happy about it. But I've also seen reports that Ten Hag's not as eager to move him on as he is, let's say, with Maguire and others, because he's a squad player and he'd be an half-decent squad player. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in that situation. We'll just have to wait and see. Of course, if we will go live if anything breaks regarding any deal whatsoever. So turn on that notification bell so you do not miss a thing, please.
Yep. Chivy, how has Højlund been called up for the Danish national team when he's supposed to be injured? Yeah, I don't get that.
I did see a bit in that same report, though, that said that they're going to keep an eye on him for the Arsenal game to see how he gets on, and if he's fine in that, then they'll bring him. They'll bring him into national games, basically, effectively.
Yeah. And then Gray saying, my point is mistakes whether he's pushed up or sits back. I think he makes mistakes in the system. I think when we played with Ollie, when it was we sit back and then counter, I think he was excellent. That first year he was here, like, people like to rewrite history and say he was shit from the beginning, which he wasn't. When he was first here, we played counter-attack where we'd sit back and let the team come us and we'd counter and he'd be able to, like, take the ball out and pass. He was decent. And then we missed him in that Europa League final. Like, everybody was calling for it. All of us was saying, we need Maguire in there. So I don't think that's true that he was always awful. I think first season he was decent. I think since then, when we tried to evolve the style and tried to play a more advanced, more pressing style with different managers like Ragnick, and then Ollie tried to change it, didn't he? And then now Ten Hag, he's exposed. So I think if he went to a West Ham where they do play that way, where it's more set back and they hit you on the break, he would look a really good player. But at United, it's just not going to happen. And that's going to turn the situation toxic because, like we said, Varane's out injured, Shaw's out injured, so he's going to get an opportunity to play seemingly at some point, and that's what we don't need. We don't need that sort of toxicity around the squad. But
the issue is, it's a cocktail of disaster when you have everything that Maguire's bad at. The error prone is pace and agility. In that, when you put it in that system, it really shows how bad he is at that. Whereas you put him as captain at West Ham, nowhere near as much pressure at West Ham as there is at Manchester United. There's much lower expectations. You put him in there, the crowd ain't on his back. He's compact. He's got defensive midfielders in front of him. He's bound to play much better, isn't it? It's just logical, really.
He looks good for England. Like, you see it with England. He doesn't have many bad games for England because Southgate plays in a pragmatic style, back five or back three with the wing backs and stuff. And he's got two holding midfielders in front of him normally, Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. And that's how he plays. So that's why, and he looks great for England. He never sort of lets England down because of the system. If Pep Guardiola was managing England, do you think Harry Maguire would fit well in that squad? Not a chance, man. Don't work hard enough, isn't quick enough, can't turn into a midfielder, etc. So that's what happens.
Yeah. What we're saying, Jim James is saying United are in panic mode as
always. Every fucking
time of the year, innit?
Every window.
That time of the year. Cucurella, I don't mind him. We sell McTominay now, then bid Sofian Amrabat. Easy said than done, no looker. Yeah. Your place in the Cosmos. I agree, Sam. Season 1, but he still makes mistakes that are costly regardless. Yeah, I think he does make a lot of mistakes. I agree with you, Greg. Yeah. That's where I want money. Mick Shotbag. I won't send ship. Scotland. But, yeah, I can't read that. No idea what that's saying. But I think Lucky Singh wants McTominay gone and Amrabat in. Like us all, to be honest with you. Amrabat's the most important signing that we need to do. I'm not asked about Cucurella. I'm not asked about any other rogue signing that we might make. I want Amrabat. And if we can't get Amrabat, at least bring in Gravenberch or something.
We need a midfielder. We need a combative type midfielder in. Absolutely. The left back, I can take it or leave it. Like, if we don't get one in, Ten Hag's going to be forced to play Alvaro, and I'm all right with
that.
Dalot. So I think we're fine in that aspect. I would love another striker, but it's not happening. So,
never happening.
Yeah, no. Midfielder is needs must. We need to get that done.
I think we've got to go to the Emirates on the weekend and play with Eriksen in midfield. And I love Christian Eriksen, but the tempo they play at, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare, I think. So we need to get that midfield sorted and Amrabat in ASAP.
I think Arsenal are going to reset as well because they've been playing with sort of Party at right back, haven't they, to try and fit Havertz into that midfield.
Havertz has been dreadful.
It's just dreadful. And I think this weekend he's gonna drop him and put Party back in there with Rice and stuff because he knows he has to beat us. So I think he's going to change that system. Whereas if he would have carried on playing the system he's playing, I think we would have had an opportunity. Because I think Havertz is such a liability, and obviously Party's not great at right back. I think we could have an opportunity, but I think he's going to change it, unfortunately. So,
yeah, but obviously we'll discuss all that on the preview, which will be probably on Friday or Saturday. Like we mentioned before, the transfer window is closing on Thursday. For the members video, I've had an idea. It's going to be something to do with the transfer window, so keep an eye out for that. It's going to be a fun one. If you want to become a member, click the join button next to the notification bell or click the link in the bio to join the Real Red Ultras for exclusive content, a Badge 16 name, and a chance to feature on the show. Make sure you drop us a follow on social media. All the handles are at the bottom of the graphic, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And yeah, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I think we're currently on 3,207 the last time I checked. So we need to push it to 3,250 if possible. And if you're new to the channel, then that would help out. That would be appreciated a lot. Sam, any final words? Any comments you want to make?
Make sure notification bell's on because obviously this broke literally within the last half an hour. I'm sure there'll be more craziness breaking in the next couple of hours. And if it does happen, we will go live. So please do keep the notification bell on. Subscribe us on Twitter, subscribe us on Instagram, subscribe us on TikTok because we will put up when we're going live as well. So sometimes if YouTube fucks up and doesn't send a notification out, which it does do, you will still know when we're going to go live. So please do follow all that stuff. We'd appreciate it. And yeah, we may see you later tonight depending on what happens. If not, we'll definitely see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to be live probably, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Tim99's in the chat just joined us right towards the end, last minute injury winner, saying I'm not panicking now, but might after the deadline day. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a lovely day. Yeah, see you in a bit.
Peace.